I actually asked myself a few questions about the structure. So in the 1950s and in the 1980s, how difficult would it have been to actually do this spending spree, essentially over a 30-day period? And I'd have to imagine it would be difficult for a few reasons. Performing transactions was not something that happened very quickly. Again, if you have cash, great, but usually you have to have some meeting place and things took time. If you wrote a check, that took time to process. If you're paying cash, you actually had to, let's say, meet up or actually distribute it with some type of courier. So I can't imagine just the transfer, the velocity of money was very fast. In addition to that, the only times you really do business with anyone is during business hours. So unless you actually have particular contacts that you've actually been able to set up arrangements with, everything is normally happening during business hours. So 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. is pretty much all you actually have to work with. And then last but not least is hiring a staff. So if you actually had to put all the components of your system into place during those times, I don't believe you could get them up quickly enough in order to be successful, especially if you couldn't really share this kind of like grand vision or plan of what it is you actually have to do. You may be able to get help in actually doing it, but the resistance piece and some of the other aspects may be difficult. Now, is it impossible? No, but I just thought about that being difficult. Now, if I look at it now in 2022, how much faster would it be to actually execute this challenge of spending, and again, not 30 million, but $90 million now? And I see that being much, much faster. You have more money to actually use, and you actually get the benefit of using the internet, which doesn't close down. So you have not only a market that doesn't close, but a global market. So the ability to do things on a 24/7 basis much, much more conducive. And then in addition to that, you can actually set up systems that can do it for you. So whether you're awake or whether you're asleep, if you actually have systems and everything put into place, that stuff can actually figure out, okay, what are we running? How are we doing it? How are we decreasing the amount within the trust until it's down to zero? So I believe that's definitely a huge advantage, being able to actually do that now. Now, if I were actually taking on the challenge, what would I actually do? What would I actually set up in order to be successful? Well, the first things actually I'd look at is my strategy. With my strategy, I would definitely use the internet. Just for the fact that, again, same reasons, it's up 24/7. I can have access to a global market, and I just don't have anything really slowing me down other than the internet not being up. But that's definitely my first go-to. After that, systems. So the beautiful thing about systems is that once you actually put them together and have them in place, they run for you. Other than just peeking in to see what the actual results are, there's not much you really have to do. So if you actually have a good system in place and you know that it works, all you have to do is put the resources into play and just let it go on its own. And then something else that I would probably do is a little different is I'd work to keep things at arm's length. So the my ability to not be involved, let's say, with everything that's going on within this spending, actually makes the system much more efficient because it's not waiting on me. So by arm's length, all I mean by that is I actually deploy something and I just might be able to manage it from afar, but I just let it run and do what it's actually doing. And that has a number of benefits, in that it doesn't require so much of my time. I can actually keep it more private than not because probably one of the biggest challenges I could see is just costly entanglements of folks actually knowing that you have money, right? But if you actually deploy these various things off on their own, you might be having this big old challenge and contest and just doing the stuff you normally do because you already have the systems in place. So that can be a huge benefit. So I definitely like the arm's length piece for that reason. Now, in how everything would actually be set up, as far as what would the rules be, how would it be structured? The biggest piece that I see, the simplest way to actually explain it, is you're spending $90 million, and the only proof that you have of a purchase is a receipt. So unless you have an experience or something that you're actually taking in, the only proof that something actually happened, other than, let's say, now, in how everything would actually be set up, as far as what would the rules be, how would it be structured? The biggest piece that I see, the simplest way to actually explain it, is you're spending $90 million, and the only proof that you have of a purchase is a receipt. So unless you have an experience or something that you're actually taking in, the only proof that something actually happened, other than, let's say, you're recording anything of it, let's say as an artifact, but not actually as a deliverable, or something that's actually going to make you money or be of value, is just to have the receipt. So that's like the rules, like as simple and clear cut as I can actually get with that. And then it can't allow you to gain any leverage down the road. So those would be probably the simplest terms I could explain there. Again, having everything in a trust allows you to bypass a number of different issues. It wouldn't matter if the trustee was married. Trustee would literally need to be 18 years or older, but you could have the code of conduct and then whatever disqualification pieces you have in there, just putting a trustee in place, letting them play the game. And as soon as they get disqualified, you pull them out and you just let everything run a term if they don't. And then the last part I actually would have would be the existing rules would essentially say the same. So you couldn't destroy something of value. That was number one. You couldn't spend more than 5% or give 5% to charity. You couldn't gamble more than 5%. You cannot simply give the money or its value away. So you actually had to use it. And when you actually do use it, you must exchange it for the fair value of goods and services. That's probably the one rule that I would actually add. And that the only thing that you have to show after 30 days are the receipts. So that's how I would actually structure doing Brewster's Millions, today. And maybe I'd call it Brower's Millions. But in any case, that's how I would actually structure the contest. And that's just the start of the battle, figuring that piece out. Now, one thing I'm going to share in an upcoming segment is the significance. Why am I going through all this work to tell you how I would actually play this game? And well, first off, I love playing games, but you can always learn from games. So I already learned a lot just about how I'd actually structure this. But the next piece, as far as what the significance of it is, that's going to be even more interesting. What's the significance of actually running this type of event? What can you learn from it? And how can that impact or influence what you're actually doing now? So I appreciate you tuning in. Can't wait to tell you about the significance aspect of everything that we've talked about so far. And well, stay tuned. More good stuff to come. All right. Bye.